DC has given us some of the most recognizable superheroes of all time. From Superman and Wonder Woman to Batman and Catwoman, they've sure made an impact on the superhero genre. Despite this, they don't seem to have any luck with their movies. So, these are the real reasons why DC is destined to fail. If you were a fan of superhero movies before the early 2000s, you'd probably think that DC was the frontrunner of the genre. However, these days that's all changed, and Marvel has taken the lead without a doubt. Why is this? Well, there are a few reasons. DC movies date all the way back to the 1960s. That's when the first Batman movies came out. Then we had Superman in the 1970s, DC's first big production. These original Batman and Superman movies did amazing things, and fans loved them. This was way before anyone had seen Spider-Man, Hulk, Captain America, or any of the other Marvel heroes that everyone knows about today. In fact, the Marvel Cinematic Universe didn't even exist back then, and only avid comic fans would have been aware of it. How then was Marvel able to overtake DC so easily? Firstly, the idea of a superhero universe that's connected is a recent one, in movies anyway. Back in the day, DC movies were about completely different things. Take Batman, for example. The first movie did great, and so did the second. But the third and fourth, fans thought they were silly and failed to make a great impression. Then they changed the whole thing and gave Batman a clean slate with Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. The Dark Knight definitely redeemed Batman in the eyes of the fans. But it's hard for people to really get behind characters if they're constantly changing. The Dark Knight may as well be a completely different hero than the original Batman. Unlike Marvel, whose cinematic journey began later in the 2000s with the release of X-Men, DC has been through drastic changes in leadership. With each leadership change, the ideas and identities of each character also changed. The result was that Marvel created clear storylines that made sense and sequels that followed each other well. DC became confusing and hard for fans to relate to. With flop after flop and some of their biggest films doing terribly, DC needed a change. Warner Brothers, who had been directing DC movies for years, decided to bring in James Gunn to fix the mess they'd made. James Gunn is a well-known director and the man behind Guardians of the Galaxy. He was adored by fans of superhero movies and had a long history of collaboration with Disney and Marvel. He helped direct Doctor Strange and Guardians of the Galaxy, both big hits. Surely he could sort out DC, right? Well, not exactly. They first brought him in 2018 to rewrite the script for Suicide Squad. Then, they decided it would be a good idea for him to just direct the whole thing. The 2021 version of Suicide Squad did a lot better than its predecessor, released in 2016. Although fans were not entirely satisfied, things were looking up for DC movies. So much so that in 2022, Warner Brothers would make James Gunn the co-CEO of DC movies. The pressure was on, and Gunn had a vision for DC. He wanted a multiverse similar to Marvel's. He wanted to create a coherent story that fans would love. DC has great characters and endless source material to work from. But what they lacked was leadership, and Gunn planned to change that. The first DC film with Gunn as co-CEO was Black Adam. This film, starring Dwayne Johnson as Black Adam, sought to bring a lesser-known DC character to light. Black Adam is actually a spin-off of Shazam. In the comics, Adam is Shazam's predecessor. We can only assume that since the flop of the first Shazam movie in 2019, Gunn wanted to test the waters before committing to another Shazam film. Despite his best efforts, Black Adam did terribly. This led to a confrontation between The Rock and James Gunn. Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson was passionate about playing the character. He had his own vision of how he would fit into the DC universe. He even tried to do maths to explain how the film may be profitable. Gunn was having none of it. The Rock would eventually end up accepting Gunn's decision and release a statement, saying James Gunn and I are connected. and Black Adam will not be the first chapter of storytelling. However, DC and $7 have agreed to continue exploring the most valuable ways Black Adam can be utilized in a future DC multiverse chapter. What do you think? Was Gunn being too harsh on The Rock? Or was he right in not taking the chance with more Black Adam movies? Either way, he would next set his sights on Shazam 2: Fury of the Gods. Before he would finish working on the new Shazam, though, Gunn had some more major changes coming. Fans weren't too upset about Black Adam getting fired from the DCEU, but there was an uproar when they found out he had changes in store for Superman. Superman was the only promising character in the DC multiverse. Batman did well with the Dark Knight series, but since then, fans haven't been impressed. But DC fans did take a liking to Superman, played by Henry Cavill. Shortly after getting rid of Black Adam, James Gunn would also remove Cavill from the role of Superman. Fans were shocked. A new movie with him had just been announced. However, Gunn's decision was final. He stated he wanted a younger Superman in his vision for the DC-verse. That was that. We don't know who the new Superman is going to be yet, but it won't be Cavill. So, up until this point, he'd revived the Suicide Squad, got rid of Dwayne Johnson and Henry Cavill, removed Black Adam completely, and said he would revamp Superman. His next mission was to save the Shazam series. Shazam: Fury of the Gods was released in early 2023. And to Gunn's and DC fans' dismay, it performed horribly. Not just horribly, it actually suffered the worst DCU movie opening ever. Fans wanted answers, and Warner Brothers was quick to blame it all on Gunn. There were a few reasons for the film's flop. From poor marketing to such low expectations of fans, some say it was destined to fail. Some fans, though, have been questioning Gunn's allegiance to the DCU. If you remember, we mentioned before that James Gunn has a long history of working on Marvel movies. At first, people were happy that someone with experience was going to try and save DC. But while he was working on saving DC, he was also involved with Marvel. He helped direct some of Marvel's biggest hits, such as Avengers: Infinity War, Avengers: Endgame, and I Am Groot, all while working on DC movies. Some fans were not happy about this. The DCU needs leadership, and fans weren't happy that the new man on the job was also working on Marvel. What made matters even worse is that the new Shazam did terribly. The new Guardians of the Galaxy, released a few months later, did great. This caused some to question Gunn's loyalty to the cause. Fans thought it was obvious that he cared more about Marvel than DC. Whether or not that's true, one thing is for sure: Gunn does not have an easy task ahead of him. Fans are angry, and the future of DC is uncertain. Things aren't all bad for the company, though. The Suicide Squad spin-off Peacemaker, a series directed by Gunn, is doing really well. He's also got loads of upcoming DC movies in the works, like Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, The Flash, and the new Superman are coming out in 2025. Despite fans' doubts, he still has big plans. He's got his own vision for how he wants a DC multiverse to look, and he's not afraid of making harsh decisions to make that a reality. It won't be easy, but hopefully sometime in the future, we will see DC return to its former glory. For now, though, it's not looking good. From years of terrible movies to a lack of leadership in the company, these are the real reasons DC will fail. Will Gunn save DC? Will he destroy it? Does he care more about the Marvel Universe? Let us know your thoughts.